Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Outside of Football Manager saves and Brazilian football deep dives you know me for, I've got other interests. Anime, manga, pro wrestling, J-pop, video games, the usual chaos. Umamusume Pretty Derby somehow happens to mash all of that together. And since the global launch, it's completely hooked me. But why are you playing the weird horse girl game?
Unacceptable!
I told myself that when I hit a creative wall, I'd just make videos about the stuff I genuinely enjoy, no matter how weird it might seem to some people. So yes, this is a video about a horse girl anime racing management game with roguelike mechanics, narrated like one of my FM saves.
How does it work?
You pick a character to train, choose 2 legacy racers to boost their starting stats, and build a deck of up to 6 support cards that influence your character's stats and grant you skills that you can unlock during career mode to help your horse run faster, recover stamina faster, buff up your own stats, or debuff your competition.
You know, like nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills.
From there, you proceed to guide your horse girl through a 3-year career, balancing training, events, and races, which you have no control of, in order to hit certain goals unique to each horse girl's story. Clear those goals, and she advances through tougher challenges toward the final test, the URA Finale, a set of elite races created by Tracing Academy's director to push every Uma Musume to reach their peak. Fail, and her run ends. But she becomes a legacy horse you can use to boost future trainees. That's the roguelite loop. Every attempt strengthens the next. Oh, and when they win, they celebrate by leading an idol-style concert. I won't be showing these. Personally, I'd like this video to stay monetized. And yes, this is a gacha game. It's very possible to enjoy it without spending money, like I have, but if you've got an addictive streak, tread carefully. Right, with all of this out of the way, this brings me to the character I chose to go with for this career mode attempt. A horse girl whose career I had attempted a few times offline before making this video to no success whatsoever. But this time, things were going to be different. Because after unlocking her racing outfit by turning her into a 3-star Uma Musume, it was time to dominate in the sport of kings with King Halo. Yeah, she does that. A lot. You might as well get used to it now. You see, King Halo isn't like the other horses of her current generation, which also has the likes of Special Week, Grass Wonder, Saiyan Sky, and El Condor Pasa among them. She's a horse girl of high class and higher expectations, burdened with great purpose and a drive to become known as the first-rate Uma Musume of this golden generation with her arrival at Tracing Academy, where all Uma Musume train. As her trainer, it's up to me to pick out her training schedule and bolster her stats to set King Halo up for success. Our first task would be to tackle her maiden race, the Junior Make Debut. Through the first few months at the Academy, we boost King Halo's stats and help her learn new skills, all while also meeting a few side characters like Tracing Academy's director Yayoi Yakikawa, her assistant/secretary Tazuna Hayakawa, and another fellow trainer in Aoi Kiryuin, who has her own story arc with the horse girl she's training, but which we're not delving into either for the sake of time. But most importantly, we get to learn more about who King Halo is and what exactly makes her tick through certain trainee events with her. For example, we learn how King Halo has her own first-rate dance routine, to how she is, in fact, the daughter of a legendary Umamusume who dazzled the racing stage. A shadow which King Halo is trying to do everything in her power to escape. It also doesn't help that said mother believes that her daughter does not have an iota of talent to handle any of this. Which brings me back around to earlier. Remember that I told you how this fun game about horse girl management and its characters were based on real life horses? Well, King Halo is no different, because the real horse himself was bred from a legendary line. King Halo was sired by Dancing Brave, who was touted to be one of Europe's strongest horses in the 1980s, out of Goodbye Halo, who had won 7 Grade 1 races during her heyday in America. Even in real life, this horse had massive expectations from the jump once it entered the racing circuit. And it is no different for our own first-rate Uma Musume, as she wants to go beyond expectations and ensure that you all do one very specific thing.
Acknowledge me.
So, we get to the junior make debut, but rather than being the place where King Halo would take that bold first step in her career as a first-rate horse girl, she ends up losing her nerve and feeling rushed during the early portion of the race, which will often cause your horse girl to not take advantage of her stats the way she should, and long story short, King Halo places second in her debut race, as a NPC named Confusion wins it at the end. Imagine my own confusion, as this was how I found out you can actually lose your debut race, which is supposed to be a gimme in these scenarios.
It's official. You suck.
It only got worse from here, as King Halo got a call in the aftermath of that race, and as it turns out, we're going to be dealing with this horse girl's mother throughout this whole story, as King Halo becomes determined to make the move to running in a G1 race as soon as possible. Pal, that's all well and good, but you just lost your debut race to an NPC. Before we even have you tackle a G1 like the Hopeful Stakes, we gotta fix that little error of ours first. Thank the gods I've played this game enough times offline to just do quick races like this. Not that I felt I was going to need it. Ahem. Back to our story. After correcting our little mishap, we then began to improve King Halo's speed and power for future races. During the weeks leading up to the Hopeful Stakes, I get taught more about the first-rate things in life, such as table manners, and I even get to witness how King Halo's forgetfulness to practice a dance routine along with her fellow Golden Generation members leads to an impromptu exhibition pro wrestling match between her and Horsko moonlighting as a luchadora. El Condor pasa to the roar of a live crowd at a shopping mall like this was 1995 WCW Monday Night Nitro.
24 hours later.
The Wrestling Observer rated this match a 4.25 out of 5 stars? Oh, fuck you, Dave Meltzer.
The hell does Meltzer know?
So after quite the exciting set of events, we get a little more insight on the classic year, aka year 2 of their careers, and how King Halo and her fellow rivals in Seiya Sky and Special Week are setting their sights on some very specific races that will happen during that year, all while Seiya continuously busted Halo's chops for her usual grandiose attitude about it all. We also meet Kawakami Princess, who admires King Halo and is inspired by how she carries herself on the turf, akin to her favorite anime character.
It's like one of my Japanese animes.
I mean, it is nice to know our Ojo-sama does have some fans. But prior to tackling all of that, we do have the Hopeful Stakes to race, and with it, King Halo's aim to become the Junior Year Champion. A checkpoint to jumpstart her classic year in the best manner possible. The first G1 race of her career has King Halo starting off much better than in her junior debut, keeping her composure as a late surger type horse girl. someone who hangs back with the middle of the pack before surging ahead late in the race to take the victory. Letting those in front of her tire themselves out on the final corners, King Halo gradually took the outside to make her move and used the momentum to overtake Agnes Tachyon in the final 200-meter stretch, proving that the junior debut was truly a fluke. Proving she truly is a first-rate Uma Musume with her first G1 victory. A feat that her real-life counterpart did not achieve until he was 19 races into his career. But for our King Halo,
it's not enough.
Because her sights are already set on the next goal as she's entering her classic year, the Triple Crown Tour. A trio of races that its participants only get one chance to compete in during their entire careers. The Satsuki Sho, the Tokyo Yushun, and the Kika Sho. Races in which her fellow Golden Generation rivals would also be running in, and the perfect background to determine who would truly be the shining star of their generation. But first, we had New Year's. King Halo thought it was necessary to be a little more festive in our training offices, and after some decorating, with the help of a pair of Halo's underclassmen, who she took under her wing in the same manner that your local extrovert will forcibly do with an introvert. We set goals for the upcoming year, ate some food, rested up, and promptly went back to work to get King Halo in shape for the first of the 3 races, the Satsuki Sho. The goal was for a placement in the top 5 of the medium length race, but as someone who has struggled at times in this game due to my own OCD compulsion with trying to keep all stats as balanced as possible, I decided to focus on one specific type of training in the lead up to the Satsuki Sho: speed. With this training regimen and a rather convenient walk to the 3 goddesses statue at the academy, which ended up inspiring King Halo to inherit even more stats from the 2 legacy horses we picked at the start, well, we were as prepared as we could be to take on the first race of the Triple Crown, the Satsuki Sho. So go figure that Seiya Sky decided to play mind games before the start of that race like the absolute troll that she is. Starting on the inside track, she hung back with the middle of the pack alongside rival Special Week, while Seiya Sky took the lead as a frontrunner for the first half of the race. But as we got midway through the turf track, King Halo gradually began to power her way through the competition and found the outside lane in the last corner while Special Week took the inside track instead. With no one in her path, King Halo began to pull through in the final 200 meters of the race, gradually passing Special Week and getting past Seiya Sky in the last stretch before crossing the marker by a length and then some. An unbelievable final push had given King Halo the first leg of the Triple Crown. It was truly a moment to celebrate, as King Halo had begun her path to prove her worth as a first-rate Umamusume. So, go figure that the fans watching imply that King Halo won because she's her mother's daughter, all while her 2 main rivals swear that the next race is theirs to win.
Cool.
Anyways, we keep it moving because for King Halo, she is determined to win the remaining crowns, and that means we're off to prepare for the Tokyo Yushun, aka the Japanese Derby. It wouldn't be much of a turnaround, as we could only train King Halo briefly for the next month to prepare for the second leg of the Triple Crown. It was a cloudy day in Tokyo as King Halo would once again take the center stage. Albeit with her fair share of butterflies, a Special Week was greeted to a hero's welcome, swearing that she would win the derby for her 2 mothers, the one who gave birth to her and the one who raised her. The Japanese Derby was a long track, and the race itself was quite the marathon, with King Halo and Special Week being in the middle of the pack for the first half of it, while Seiya Sky yet again took off to the frontrunner position to try and outrun everybody. But as the horse girls started to approach the latter portion of the race, Special Week began to make her move to the outside, and King Halo followed her behind while Seiya Sky and Mihono Bourbon were neck and neck up front. The final corner would come, But unlike in the Satsuki show, King Halo veered back to the spaces in the middle of the track to gain places, catching up to the front runners, and for the first time, she used her ultimate ability, Prideful King, an ability that greatly increases her power in the last 200 meters of a race, and she was going to need it to close the gap. But while it is enough to pass the front runners in the race, Special Week is just too far out of reach as King Halo crosses the finish line in second place to mine in her disappointment. Stupid ass anime protagonist powers. But look, realistically, second place is not the end of the world. We more than accomplished our goals to move on to the third leg of the Triple Crown, and while disappointed, King Halo is prepared to take on the Kika show and... Oh, you have gotta be kidding me. Of course, in the worst possible timing, King Halo's mother decides to call her and rub the Japanese derby loss in her face by saying that she's never seen an Umamusume capture the hearts of the crowd with their running like Special Week? And then you tell her that she's probably ready to throw in the towel due to running against her? Lady, your daughter's a winner of a Triple Crown leg and just placed second by a length and a half in the second one. You need to chill. Great, now I have to be the one to pick up the pieces and boost her self-esteem for the next few weeks before the next race happens. Thankfully, Hayakawa, the director's assistant, does approach me a few days after the race to let me know that we're headed to the beach in a month for Trace and Academy's annual summer camp, where all the training options are boosted to their max level and we can truly take our horse girls to the next level. So throughout June, I just have King Halo take it easy with some rest and wit training before we head off to summer camp for the months of July and August. Outside of declaring that the lodge we're staying in will be one of our properties someday upon arrival, summer camp is pretty uneventful. Is what I would say if she didn't get an injury during the third week while sprinting down the beach. Thankfully, I'm able to encourage her to keep going and there aren't any lingering issues. We dodged a bullet, to say the least. Although outside of our training sessions, we do have to contend with more weirdo tourists calling King Halo a nepo baby who causes nothing but trouble, while giving Seiya Sky and Special Week's reputations that gawk 30,000 right in front of us. Clearly, there's a lot of disrespect. Even though Kawakami Princess is yet again here to support the king in full, and I end up convincing King Halo to help train Kawakami, rather than paying attention to all the naysayers on the beach. She takes me up on the idea and ends up continuing her training into the night, all while swearing that she cannot stop now until she's acknowledged by the people. Thus, returning from the beach training camp to the academy even more determined. However, during the final weeks of preparing for the race, King Halo also has an encounter with Special Week during the tune-ups for the Kika show. This is all happening while Special Week is being hounded by reporters about her Japanese derby performance, being asked who is the Uma Musume that she considers to be her rival, and then mentioning something about Seiya Sky planning to run in the Tenno Sho later on next year. And the media promptly interprets that it's Seiya Sky who is her generational rival before asking even more questions. Either way, our first-rate Uma Musume had had enough of this country bumpkin and decided to go back to her own training. It's at this point that we end up realizing that King Halo's strength wasn't in long races. It was in sprints. We promptly suggested as much to her and even asked about whether she was certain on running the Kika show. King Halo remained resolute in her stance, and admittedly, it was during this whole event that I finally understood for the first time in the few career mode attempts I had in the past as to why she has an A grade for sprint races and... Oh, what now? Why is her mother calling a get? Actually, wait, hold on a second. This is from me. Yeah, give me a second, y'all. I gotta take this. Hello?
Okay, hi. So I've been following your story for this King Halo run really closely. Don't ask me how, I just play video games and I know things. And I heard what you just said. So I do have to ask you, have you been skipping out all the dialogue in between the races for King Halo? Chris, have you been skipping out on all the lore for this entire time you've been playing the game?
About that. Not this time?
Wow. I am wildly disappointed in you. Please get your shit together.
So, that was my longtime friend D, who's better known nowadays as the magical millennial girl VTuber Deja Vu D. And if I were to ever have an Oshi in that community, it'd likely be her. Yes, this is your cue to go follow her stuff and her socials, which will be listed down in the description. And she is right, I do need to get my shit together. Because King Halo deserves to be known and acknowledged as the true first-rate Umamusume that she is. Which means I have to commit to this bit and the lore of this game fully. We may not conquer the full Triple Crown, but as the Kika Show race kicks off, we can at least win 2 of its 3-leg... Oh, this isn't good.
A few minutes later.
God damn it!
Well, thank goodness the goal was just to run this race, not place in it. So, after having to yet again calm King Halo down from a brutal loss, with Kawakami Princess and King Halo's posse giving me a massive assist, we have the tough talk in the locker room that King Halo just needs to stop trying to get her mother's attention and to conduct herself in a manner truly befitting of a first-rate Umamusume, by doing things how she wants to do them and follow her own path. And yeah, she can dig it. In the following weeks, King Halo decides to be her usual extra self by calling a press conference by the front gates of Tracen Academy, attracting spectators and paparazzi alike as we end up doing a whole self-introduction routine. What's my name? What's my name? Say it loud. And with it, she boldly declares her entry and future victory of the Takamatsu no Miya Kinen, one of the most important G1 sprint races in the calendar year, in order to prove her status as a super first-rate Umamusume. However, before we start her training regimen, I did feel some type of way about the loss in the Japanese Derby and other medium-length courses in the past. I decided to register King Halo for the Queen Elizabeth II Cup in Kyoto before fully dedicating myself to training her for sprint races. The king would not disappoint, as she would find her winning combination by dancing and breaking through the crowd after the last corner to add another G1 victory to her name. With this positive momentum in hand, preparations for the Takamatsu no Miya Kinen began as the new year arrived. On a visit to the local shrine to celebrate the occasion, King Halo decided to come to it wearing a dress, with no coat, in the middle of winter.
Bruh.
We also find out during this visit that Seiya Sky and Special Week will be running in the spring Tenno Sho race, and somehow, King Halo turns this whole situation into a photo op outside of the temple grounds. Then she sprints off while wearing my coat, which I gave her when she started sneezing, while laughing obnoxiously. This woman will be the death of me at this rate. Anyhow, while training for the Takamatsu no Miya Kinen, I have King Halo also enter a G2 mile race in the Kyoto Kinen, which she wins quite easily, and this would serve as our springboard to crown King Halo on the sprint racing stage. But just before going out for the Takamatsu no Miya Kinen, King Halo's phone rang yet again. Of course her mother would choose now, of all occasions, to call her. Although this time, King Halo appears more than prepared for it, as she has me hold up the phone while the two go back and forth, before King Halo tells her nagging mother that she's confident in her abilities to win this race and do things in her own way before hanging up the phone. I am so proud of her. Now, Even though she is rushed at the first portion of the race, the combination of skills I've had her learn plus the fruits of her own training helped King Halo bounce back from the awkward start, take the outside by the final corner, and make the final burst to sprint past her competition to cling first place and validate her abilities to a public that now has no choice but to acknowledge her as a first-rate Umamusume. Of course, this race's requirement to win also is a reflection of reality, as this was the only G1 race victory of the real King Halo's career after multiple failed attempts in various types of tracks and lengths. But this also goes to show that our horse girlie has not only been able to live up to the reality, but has also been able to surpass it as well. And we're not even done yet. So, the choice is made in the aftermath to race in the Yasuda Kinen, a mile race that was lacking star power until King Halo decided to grace it with her presence. Given that mile races are slightly longer than sprints, we were going to need a focus during this training stretch. It definitely helps that another visit to the Three Goddesses statue helped give our stats another big boost, and in a fanfest following it, crowds truly got to see King Halo's persistence and determination during a bread-eating race where she came in last, but her efforts were applauded by the audience. Soon enough, the Yasuda Kinen would arrive, and while King Halo would end up third with Vodka and Daiwa Scarlet getting first and second respectively, amidst their own heated rivalry,
and they were roommates.
Oh my god, they were roommates.
We did meet the goal to arrive in the top 3 of the race, and the crowd was eager to know King Halo's next move. She boldly declared her entry into the Sprinter Stakes, determined to prove her dominance as the true king of sprints. That led to the year's summer camp for some more major training, and King Halo also ran in the special week in Seiya Sky at the end of it all, as the 3 of them decided they would race each other one more time to determine who is the true shining star of their golden generation at the autumn's Tenno Sho race. But first, we do have to take care of business in the Sprinter Stakes. The expectations are high, as crowds are now fully invested in King Halo's abilities as a sprinter. Unlike the Takamatsunomiya Kinen, King Halo is not rushed into panic decision-making by any debuffs from her competition, and her abilities shine while she executes her winning formula of getting to the outside, finding an open gap, and shooting through it, snatching victory at the last stretch. The mark of the king has been officially left in the major sprint races in Japan, and King Halo is now a G1 duo sprint winner. The media basks in her glory, but in the aftermath of the race, we are yet again on the receiving end of another call from King Halo's nagging mother. This lady just won't give up, will she? But, once more, King Halo handles it with grace and declares her intention to run in the autumn Tenno Sho. And before the call ends, King Halo's mother leaves her daughter with one simple message. You had better win.
Bitch!
We neither have the emotional capacity nor the time to deal with the ramifications of this, so we're gonna move on to the next race now. The Tenno Sho is an international G1 horse race held twice a year in Japan, once in the spring and once in the autumn. The autumn race tends to be a shorter course than its spring counterpart, falling into the medium range of races. A common ground for King Halo, Seiya Sky, and Special Week to settle their differences. The time of the race is finally upon us, and beforehand, the 3 horse girls have one last face-to-face encounter to declare their intentions to be the winner of this race, determined to be the leading lady of their golden generation. The anticipation is off the charts, as King Halo is considered to be the favorite, with Special Week and Seiya Sky being the second and third favorites respectively. The gates opened and they were off to the races, as King Halo would hang in 12th place for the first half of it, just ahead of the pack before things started to break down midway through it. King Halo could not find her way to the outside as per usual, and yet a timely debuff on other late surger racers and a burst right for the middle would allow King Halo and Special Week to catch up to Seiya Sky at the front of the pack and wildcard Maya no Top Gun? Anyway, with a timely pop-up of the homestretch haste ability, which slightly increases velocity in the last part of the race, it would be more than enough for King Halo to sprint through the finish line. Without a shadow of a doubt, by winning the Autumn Tenno Sho, King Halo became the face of the golden generation. So, quite frankly, I just think that all of the Umamusume in said generation need to realize one thing now that King Halo has emerged victorious.
This is my yard now.
In all seriousness, the aftermath of this race does show King Halo finding Special Week and Seiya Sky to thank them both for being her rivals, those same feelings being returned, and overall, a promise between the three of them to continue competing against each other over the next few years for generation superiority. After all the chaos during the autumn, recovery along with some more training was on the menu for the tail end of the year. Although after the entire golden generation ended up celebrating the holidays together, with King Halo having a tsundere moment about being invited to things by the other horse girls afterward, we're visited by director Akikawa, who confirms that our achievements were enough to qualify King Halo for the ultimate goal, the URA finale. But before the actual URA finale race, there's a qualifier race, then a semi-final race, in which you have to win them all in order to qualify for the grand final itself. In fact, our attempt at the first qualifier race goes, well, badly. The start isn't bad, but somehow King Halo ended up stuck in the middle of the pack and was unable to break through it in time, ending up in 4th place. Crazy enough, this is the first race we actually failed during this entire run, which was better than any of my previous runs with King Halo combined. So, this leads me to that time where we can finally talk about alarm clocks, which is basically your retry race item. You only get 4 of them to use through your entire horse girl's career, and if you use all 4 of them and still cannot accomplish your goals in each race, it's the football manager equivalent of getting sacked in the morning. Thus, we hit one of those alarm clocks and we're back in time before the start of the race. Thankfully, our second attempt is a much better outing as King Halo does break through the middle of the pack after weaving through the outside, and the homestretch haste ability comes through in the clutch as she's able to outrun the competition to win the URA finale qualifier, punching her ticket into the semi-final race. There's only half a month in between each race, so I promptly get this girl sprinting up and down to catch volleyballs lobbed at her to train her speed to an A grade before the semifinals, along with also having her learn the final level of the long shot ability, which helps with a horse girl's performance if they're considered anything from 4 favorite or below in terms of predictions. We see these abilities help shift the tide in our favor in the next race, as King Halo decides to attack the middle of the pack between all pace chasers to make her move in the final corner and moving into the lead by the 200 meters mark, using the homestretch haste ability to truly break off the pack and win the semifinals by 4 lengths. A dominant performance to elevate her right into the grand finals. After so many races and 3 years' worth of work, it was finally time for the last race of our career with King Halo. So of course, she gets injured on our last training before the big race, loses out on some of her speed stats, and her mood decreases. And our first attempt at the finale finishes in an absolutely horrendous manner, as due to a late start and King Halo getting stuck in the middle of the pack without being able to break through until it was too late, ending up in 6th place. Yeah, we're using the second of our 4 alarm clocks here to redo this race, and thankfully, one benefit of alarm clocks is that they also raise your horse girl's mood if it's not already at great status. This time around, King Halo would stay near the bottom positions at first as the horse girls ran through the course, gradually veering her way to the outside instead of brute forcing her way through the middle like in the previous attempt. Almost as if she'd learned her lesson from a race that technically never happened. As they round the final corner, It's a timely debuff ability from King Halo used on other late surge racing horses that allows her to start moving up places while speeding up. She's on the outside, gradually overtaking her competitors one by one, and that is when she uses her homestretch haste ability for that final burst of speed, shooting right past a surging Nice Nature, rival Seiya and Sky on the inside, and race leader Daiwa Scarlet in the final 200 meters to win the race! Folks, the King has finally ascended to her rightful throne, conquering the medium-length URA finale with the heart of a champion, the soul of a champion, hell, even the shoes of a champion.
Wait, did I say shoes of a champion? Yeah!
But at the end of every story, there's a new one. Because in this Umamusume verse, King Halo would continue to race and move forward with her head held high and with the fighting spirit of a champion. A champion that would not be defined by her mother's legacy or anyone else. Because that is what being a first-rate Umamusume is all about. Girl, what do you mean you just lost the race after calling your shot like your Babe Ruth in front of a whole ass documentary post-URA finale?